Welcome to the CMO Spotlight, and I'm here with Michael Smith, who's the Chief Marketing Officer of NPR, which is National Public Radio.
It's having a unique ability to synthesize both the creative and analytical sides of business. And so I think I've been a person uniquely positioned in media because, over the last 10 to 15 years, probably the greatest force in media has been the influence on technology and how people consume media. And so it's been extremely disruptive, from the newspaper business to radio to now with video streaming in television. And so I think having the ability to be comfortable and fluent in technology, but then also be able to understand the creative process and work with creative people, having been a creative person myself, has been something that served me well. One of the biggest places I find inspiration is in seeing people flourish and seeing people develop. There's nothing more gratifying than having a vision and a strategy and a plan for a team, and then watching people just flourish and grow and be part of helping them achieve those dreams. Well, I'm a big fan of servant leadership, which is really the concept that the leader's role is to serve and empower and enable the people that you lead to be as successful as possible. So to me, that's the core value. I have this sort of 4-part leadership playbook that I've long relied on. And it's the first thing is that the leader's role is to set a vision and sort of a North Star and a framework for where we want to go. And then second is to assemble a team of people that really fit the vision. And then the third piece is to communicate that and to make sure everybody understands it and communicate it in a really inspiring way. And then the fourth thing is to give people the resources they need to be successful and to be kind of out there in front, clearing the brush before they have to get there and fighting the battles for them. And that's what I try to inspire the people that I work with in terms of being leaders. It's not about micromanaging or about doing their job for them or figuring out how to do it for them. It's sort of setting the path and giving them the resources to be as successful as they can. It's less about the more specific skill-based things. I'm not trying to be smarter than them at their jobs, but if there are ways that I can use my wisdom to help them be more effective, then that's where I had the most value. This was back in the kind of the mid-2000s, that reality television, TV about real things and real life experiences was starting to really take off at that time. We had The Apprentice and Survivor and all these other reality shows. And we found that there's something about the food competitions and shows about people running restaurants, or shows about people traveling and experiencing food, and competitions around food that are just really great storytelling reality shows that are set in the food world. And they're not about teaching you to cook. And if we could reimagine Food Network as just a really enjoyable reality channel like Nat Geo or Bravo or Discovery Channel, we would really broaden the addressable market of people who might be interested in the channel. And so we came up with a campaign to do that. And we tested tons of taglines and thought about interesting ways to talk about how we're more than the food channel, and we reach your life and we change your life in all these other ways. And I remember in one of the focus groups, a potential viewer just said, why don't you just tell us that you're just not a cooking channel. You're just more than cooking. And so the tagline we said was, Food Network is way more than cooking. Not very fancy, but that was our tagline for a campaign that we ran for several years. And it really helped redefine people's vision of the network, from someone in a white chef's coat to people competing, doing Chopped or doing Food Network Star or Guys Grocery Games. So it just really reinvented what the network could be, and helped the network go from being like a number 40 ranked cable network to a top 10 cable network.
Wow.
The lessons I take today, even to NPR, is that we're not just a utility providing you the news, for example, but to step back and think about what role do we really play in your life emotionally. And it's really about making you feel smarter about your world, maybe a little more self-confident, maybe we make you feel a little more relaxed, a little less stressed out because you kind of understand the world a little better, and playing to that more than, hey, we've got the best news. It's a simple book, but it goes back to how to win friends and influence people. I've learned in my career is the importance of winning friends, of building relationships with people. When I was younger, this goes back to more of my engineering sort of side of my brain, where I just felt like, it's all about the numbers, it's all about the facts. If you just have the best information and you just keep your head down and just have the best argument, you'll always be able to have influence. And as I grown through my life, I've just learned that that may be 50% of it, or maybe 30% of it. A lot of life is about how people feel and about the relationships that you build with people. That will push your influence a lot more than the actual facts and the tech in your ideas. And, it takes me to another quote that I still come back to today. It was made many years ago by Maya Angelou, and the quote was, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that gets back to that thing about relationships and how you make people feel being so important to the influence that you have. I've always admired the Apple brand because they're one of the few brands that's been able to have a second and a third act. They seem to always be able to evolve and reinvent themselves, but based on the same principle of taking cutting edge technology and making it intelligible and easy to use for the general public. The smart thing is that they're never first. They wait patiently for the space to mature and then take a thoughtful look at it. So, they weren't the first PC, they weren't the first MP3 player, they weren't the first smartphone, they weren't the first smartwatch, they weren't the first streaming service. But when they get there, they usually are the most impactful.